My name is Marcell Hansen, and you're listening to Small Habits, Big Changes. Let's dive in.
You know, when kids are little, we say that they're like a sponge. They just take everything in. They grab it and run. Most parents recognize when they say something hastily and some profanity comes out, kids are like a sponge. Soak it up, right? It's something I see going on a regular basis. And it has left people feeling overwhelmed and anxious and really out of control. And this is something very simple that you have full agency over. You have full agency over. I want you to imagine that you, as an adult, are actually still a sponge. Yes, over time, that sponge may dry out and stop receiving the information around it. But imagine you're a sponge and the things around you get absorbed into your being, your force field, your mindset, maybe even your physical shell. Two things. One, we can continue to keep our sponge working, absorbing moisture as we like, if we continue to grow. What I want to point out and what I would like to share is that what I see being the detriment to many people who are trying to grow and do their best and develop and engage authentically each and every day is that they're letting influence, whether it be negative or just narrow-minded, they're letting that get into their sponge. It's up to you to monitor not only what goes into your body, the air, the chemicals, the toxins, the bacteria, the food, the drink, the alcohol, the coffee, the caffeine, the soda, not only to monitor that for your well-being, but also to monitor your social circles, your friends, your family, the news, social media, what appears to be news, gossip. These things weigh you down. They are negative, and worse than just being negative, they're really very controlling and manipulative. If you listen to almost any news story, it's actually, and I haven't watched the news in about 30 years. Its majority is fear-based. It's negative. It's a tactic to scare you and keep you thinking small and controlled. I invite you for this new year to cut out all external news. It means don't partake in gossip. Don't look to Twitter or X for your daily dose of news. Don't watch the news. Don't read the newspaper. I think you'll be fascinated at how much levity exists when you're not bogged down with this external force that comes thrusting your way through the airwaves, through billboards, through news channels of all kinds, including social media. Imagine the time you don't spend watching the news, and instead of that, take that time to meditate, to sit and be still, to stretch your body, to hydrate and journal. Do things that will serve you in a positive, in a light way, literally turning the dial from one to the other. It is your choice. Now, certainly, if you live with people, that is their routine, their habitual activity, that they're watching the news, listening to the news, you will have to work harder to stay apart from that, whether you put on headphones during that time, maybe you go out for a walk, or you go to a gym or to the sauna or steam. There is more resistance for those who are in an environment that exposes them to that. Now, if you can't negotiate that with your partner or your kids or your parents, whoever you're living with, then what you can negotiate is that time will be a time that you go and do something else. Or that time is a time that they can wear headphones and watch the news. They can go in another room and listen to the news or check their phone or listen to streaming news updates from CNN or Fox or whoever. It doesn't really matter. Any news nowadays, pretty much any news, is net negative. It's subjective. It's completely biased. There's no neutral or informed journalism anymore. It doesn't exist. Everyone has their agenda behind it. You can say it's good, bad, evil, doesn't matter. what I invite you to do is to shut it off and make it very blatant of a difference in your life, and come back after a month, after 2 months, after 6 months, after a year, and look at the difference that it's made in your life. Look at the stress levels, look at your anxiety levels, your feelings of overwhelm. I can almost guarantee you that if you do this switch, you make this switch to doing these positive things, these healthy habits, as opposed to these unhealthy habits, you'll be more informed on the things that are important and that you can control and that are valuable in your immediate world, which is your well-being, your mindset, and your health. I know for some it sounds really drastic and you may want to take a weaning period. Like I said, I haven't watched the news in a long time. I hear it very second or third hand, and I don't really partake in it. Don't read newspaper. Don't listen to streaming news. And when it does cross my path, it's jarring how negative and how loaded it is and how fear-based and how obvious that is to me. Now, I'm sure when I was watching the news growing up, which I don't know that we did a ton, but we certainly had a newspaper and certainly had more gossip. That was how things got shared. I'm sure that I was oblivious to how much I was sponging, how much I was taking in to my sponge, and how much that negativity I was wearing around like a cloak. It's just very obvious from the other side. When I was younger, I used to eat way too much, copious amounts of sugar, like table sugar, poured onto sugary cereal, dipped out of a bag. You'd buy those little fun dips, and literally it was like a stick of sugar compacted, dipping into powdered sugar. So sugar, the pixie sticks, and just tons of sugar. And now on the other side, I look back and go, well, obviously that's what wrecked me for a long time. However, I can't imagine doing that. I would just be so sick. I can't even have any sugar now. And happily, it just wreaks havoc on my entire circadian rhythm, my sleep, my energy. I have great energy without sugar, and not having it has been a blessing for most of the last 2.5 decades of gradually weaning off of it and then cutting off of it entirely. Even going without fruit for a period of time to gauge my blood glucose was really riding. And until I could get it stabilized and out of that glucose roller coaster, it took some time. But now on the other side, I look back and go, wow, that was a different person. And it was. Maybe some of you who are smokers, you look back after you've quit, you say, oh my God, I can't believe I used to smoke 2 packs a day. Or maybe you quit drinking and you're sober and you can't imagine that you used to go out and get wasted, but not the majority. Most people, after a certain amount of time, if they've done their work, if they've created new healthy habits, there would be no turning back. There's no reason to go back to sugar, to toxins, to alcohol, to unhealthy habits whatsoever. It's similar to that. You may not see how the news is affecting you, but it is. And a lot of it, for lack of a better term, it is fake news. It is contrived news. It is agenda-based, money-driven, negative news. And for the few of you that are in journalism or in the field of journalism, maybe you need to work even harder to come from a place of integrity in what you share with others. That message may slowly morph over time, and maybe you'll always be at the center of that because of your chosen profession. But you can choose to leave. You can choose to change the slant of how that looks, and you can choose to be as authentic as possible within that realm. And I encourage you to do so. If your world does not revolve around journalism, does not revolve around that industry, then I encourage you to reprioritize and look at what's coming into your field as if you were a sponge. Do you want to soak up gasoline and oil and toxins and bacteria and gross, maybe urine and feces? Do you want to soak that into your sponge? I don't think so. I think you want to soak in like good quality water, maybe some apple cider vinegar, maybe more water. Take that in so that you can wring it out and stay open to hearing messages in moderation without having a convoluted sense that's fear-based of what's going on in the world. Because the truth is, I don't think the majority of us have any clue of what's going on in the world, because the messages and the stories that are being shared and have been shared for many years are very much edited and angled to incite fear, incite benefits of trusting the government and doing blindly as they recommend or require. I think we saw a good dose of this during the pandemic, and we're now paying the price for a lot of those hasty decisions. I'm not saying for you to think what I think or decide the way I decide. That would be ludicrous. I'm saying decide for yourself with an informed decision that comes from a place of peace and a place of inner knowing, not by what the news channels are piping out, not by what the government is suggesting. These are proven to be capitalistic promotion. And quite frankly, once you're on the cleaner side of taking in healthy bits of information and insight from your own inner wisdom that's been stripped of government and political and judicial influence, you'll see clearly that we have gone astray as a people. Back to personal agency, this is entirely your decision. This is something that you can decide for yourself, for your household, with some communication with who you live with. You can decide how this looks for you. It's never too late. It's never too soon. It's never too late to make these solid decisions for yourself and for your family. I hope that you're able to live each and every day from a place of peace, from an absence or at least a minimal exposure to fear. I hope that your body is vibrant and that you are healthy and happy and your mindset is positive and that you are being productive and being of service to those closest to you that you love and to your community. And if just one person stops watching the news and focuses more on themselves and their beautiful life and what they can do of their own volition with their own desires, then it will be worth it. It will be worth the message said. For all of you that don't agree and don't want, then it's not your time to hear it. And that's okay too. I still wish you joy and happiness. You're just going to have a lot harder time getting there, taking all of that in on a regular basis. Sponge can only get so full. It does get saturated. And when it does, the only thing you can do is stop what's coming in and wring out what's in there. And that's up to you to do. So give it a go. We are all walking the path at the same time on this planet and therefore are all interconnected. So if just one person, just a handful of people are doing things that promote civilization, that promote dignity, that promote integrity and community care, it will make a difference. Positivity could be way more powerful than negativity. It's just right now, positivity is very quiet and people aren't speaking up about it. And I understand why. For every one person that has something positive to say, there may be 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 negative. Don't ever underestimate the power of representation, the representation of one, of you showing up the way you need to show up for yourself, for your family, for your loved ones. The rest of the world will benefit, whether you see that benefit or not in this lifetime is yet to be determined, but it is there. It is felt on the other side of the planet and in your existing realm. It is felt because we all are connected. Again, I wish you well, and I hope you are living your best life each and every day. If you have any comments or any feedback that you want to share, maybe that you don't feel like sharing publicly, but you want to share with at least one other individual, feel free to use the wellness community. It's free texting line for you. Text come directly to me. Numbers on the outro. It's 206-483-2960, but it will play again on the outro. So shoot me a message, join the wellness community. It is simply altruistic service on my behalf. And if you need to bounce an idea or you want to have your voice be heard by at least one other person, I'll be that person for you. Shoot me a text and I will reply. Until then, I hope that life treats you kind, and that if it isn't, that you're working actively with intention, creating a world that does. Stay awesome.
Thank you so much for listening today. If you feel any part of this episode resonated with you, then please consider sharing it with a friend who may also find value in it. And remember to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And before you go, did you know we have a fantastic free text community? If you want more bite-sized health hacks and reminders delivered directly to your phone, absolutely free, then text keyword YES to 206-483-2960. Again, that's keyword YES to 206-483-2960. And we'll see you on the inside.